Welcome on into the off-season edition of BKL Nightly. We are back for the off-season. Every Monday and Thursday we will be here talking Bills, keeping you updated on everything that's going on. I'm Thad Brown, Caleb Carr, Rachel Liebert, full house. In fact, bonus guest Carl Jones will join us a little later on. Today we're going to focus on coaching hirings. We're going to go through the different assistant coaches that Joe Brady has hired so far, and we have one specific assessment for them. Do they move the Bills closer to the Super Bowl or not since the team that walked off the field in the divisional round and the loss to the Broncos? The rule here is if you're not sure, then the answer is no. You have to have a distinct yes, this is moving the Bills closer in order for each of these coaches to get the yes for the no, yes or no answer to this question. We will start, guys, on the offensive side of the ball and with, of course, the offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael, who comes over from the Broncos, and he was a guy that spent a number of years as essentially the top lieutenant for Sean Payton. He was there for 13 seasons under Sean Payton, a couple seasons on his own as a play caller. Those did not go very well. Sean Payton then brought him to Denver to be on the offensive staff here. So, Rach, you can go first. Give me your Pete Carmichael reaction, and does he move the Bills closer to the Super Bowl or not?
I like this hire because this is a guy that has a ton of experience. I know we kind of talked about, will Brady go the route of bringing in these younger guys, or will he lean on this experience? And I think coupled with Brady still calling the plays, I kind of like this. I think this is a guy that just is another offensive mind in the room. And I especially like his history with Drew Brees because I kind of see a parallel with Josh Allen in the aspect of he coached this Super Bowl MVP in Drew Brees. And I feel like that's been the big push of these hires is we want to get Josh Allen to a Super Bowl, potentially Super Bowl MVP. I mean, if that's how it goes. So I kind of like the kind of parallel that goes there. And I think just having a guy, if he's not going to be the one calling the plays, I want someone who has been there and isn't just we're looking at maybe his ceiling. I like his history. I like his resume. So I like this. I was going back and forth, but I think I'm going to say yes to the Super Bowl being closer with this just because I like this pairing with Joe Brady still calling the plays. If Joe Brady wasn't still calling the plays, I'd probably lean more towards I don't know and then fall on the no, but I think for now I'm going to go yes.
I like how we're respecting the rules with this thing. Caleb.
I really respect Sean Payton as a head coach in the NFL. And so if you have his trust for 15 plus seasons, which is what Carmichael has, then automatically, you know, I trust you. I have that same respect for you. I think that, like you said, when he was calling the plays in New Orleans, it wasn't the best. So it definitely gives me more confidence that he's not still calling the plays. So similar to Rachel, I'm going to say yes, but only because Joe Brady is the head coach and Joe Brady, not only Joe Brady calling the plays though, also because now you have two, at least in the Bills' eyes, you can argue whether or not Joe Brady is a top offensive mind, but in the Bills' eyes, he is, which is why he got the head coaching job. And I do think that Carmichael is also a top offensive mind. So now you go from a coaching staff that had Sean McDermott, a defensive mind, and then Joe Brady, to Joe Brady, an offensive mind, and another top offensive mind underneath him to kind of bounce ideas off of each other. And I think that could drastically help a guy like Josh Allen, similar to what Rachel said. So for that reason, I will say yes, they are closer to a Super Bowl.
I'm with you, Rachel, I forget who made the point now. I thought it was you. Maybe I'm wrong. But the point that if Sean Payton liked him for all those years, he must know a thing or two about what he's doing. And the other thing that I like about this is that the job he's going to do with the Bills is exactly the job he's been doing. We're not asking, you think about all the guys that the Bills have hired, whether it's Joe Brady as head coach, Jim Leonard, we'll get to. We got a number of guys here who are doing jobs, even maybe in the NFL level as opposed to the college level, that they have never done before. Pete Carmichael's done this job forever and has done it on teams that have been to Super Bowls, have been to playoffs, not a lot of Super Bowls, but has been there and won a championship. So this to me makes a lot of sense. Let me throw this at you guys though. Because he's not going to call plays, all right, and this is before I give my yes or no answer. I don't know how much of an impact he's really going to have, right? Because it seems like he's kind of there to really generalize it. He's going to do Brady's paperwork, right, with the offense. He's going to do the game planning. He's going to watch the film. He's going to kind of take care of the junk so Joe Brady can be the offensive coordinator. If you're not having an impact on the game plan because you're just kind of a helper, and Caleb, will go back to you on this, do we feel like he can really have an impact on this team?
I think he'll do more than just the paperwork. I do agree that is probably his main job. His main job is to assist Joe Brady. I mean, he's the offensive coordinator. He's the assistant guy. He's the assistant to the head coach, one of the assistants. And I think his main role is going to be take a little bit of the offensive stuff off of Joe Brady's plate so that he can now handle defensive stuff as well. But I do think, I mean, he's worked a lot under Sean Payton. He's been in this league for a long time. I think he brings a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. So even if it's just bouncing ideas off of each other and, hey, maybe I know this is how you usually run this, but maybe let's try doing something a little bit different like this or that or whatever it may be. I do think he's going to have a little bit more impact than just paperwork. But I do agree that, I mean, he's not calling the plays. He's not running the entire offense. So the ceiling is maybe a little bit lower.
I did think about that in kind of the perspective of, okay, then who would be a great hire as OC if they're not the one calling the plays? But I do think for me, this is best case scenario for someone who's not going to be calling the plays because, like we said, I mean, this is a guy that's been in the NFL coaching, I think, since 2000. So he knows what he's doing. He's been in this position. He's been in a Super Bowl before. So I think, you know, even if you take that out of any OC that you're looking at hiring, I think this is best case scenario, the way to go. I would definitely put someone with that experience as someone who is assisting the head coach, even if it is just the paperwork aspect. I just like having someone who's been in there to assist this young head coach.
To your point about who could you hire? Well, with the Rams, Sean McVay had Kevin O'Connell at one point, who's now a head coach with the Vikings. He had Liam Cohen. These were guys that Sean McVay had, and I got this actually from Jordan Roderick, who covers the Rams for The Athletic. She's fantastic. The point she makes is, look, Sean McVay he's got his system. He knows what he's doing. He's established. He's won championships. He's got Matt Stafford. You're not building a new offense. You're not building a quarterback. So you can roll somebody in here who has fresh ideas, can open up things to you. Pete Carmichael's probably not doing that. Pete Carmichael is just going to process Joe Brady's ideas. All that said, I am 100% in the yes category of this because you have a guy, like we've said, who knows what he's doing, knows how to handle his job, who should make things easier for Joe Brady as he tries to figure out how to be a head coach. So to be honest, of all the hires the Bills have, this is the one that to me has the highest floor. Because like I said, we know this guy has done this job. I don't know if anybody else, I feel as confident about doing their job, at least in year one. The other offensive hire is the offensive line coach. This is Pat Meyer, who's coming over from the Steelers. He's been an offensive line coach. I think this is going to be his 10th year in a row that he will be an offensive line coach for somebody. 4th team in 10 years, but 10th year in a row. I will say I talked to a few Steelers fans about Pat Meyer, and I said, are you going to miss him? And they're like, no. So this is the beginning of the assessment. Doesn't mean that Steelers fans know what they're talking about. For what it's worth, Pro Football Focus rated the Steelers offensive line 8th best in the league last year. Of course, he'd been with the Steelers 3 other years, and they were 26th the year before that. So I think with this one, guys, we begin with the idea that anybody who was going to replace Aaron Cromer is going to have a tough ask. But Caleb, I'll let you go to you first here in terms of yay or nay on the closer to the Super Bowl assessment with Pat Meyer.
I mean, yeah, you pretty much hit everything. It's in the lower third. It's big shoes to fill. Aaron Cromer was highly liked. Everyone loved him, the entire offensive line. I mean, I talked to some of the guys at the locker room clean out. Dawson Knox had nothing but great things to say, and that's coming from a tight end. So the guys loved him, whether it was an offensive player or not. So I think it's going to be tough to kind of go in there and hit the ground running right away. So for that reason, this one's a no for me.
I'm on the same page. Actually, fun fact, Pat Meyer's from my hometown, so I can't completely say that he's not going to do
you
great.
You can say what you want.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, like Caleb said, big shoes to fill. I think he has, 10 years of NFL experience, you said?
With being just the offensive line coach, more experience beyond that, too.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the hires that I think, okay, like it's happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not like super stoked about it. I don't really feel any particular way. I mean, I think he has the chance to do fine, but I also have not been impressed by really anything that sticks out. So the answer is no. The Super Bowl question, we'll say no for him. Yeah,
I'm going to go 3 for 3 now. Middling results, even if you go back prior years, prior teams, I think he had 1 year with the Chargers that really stood out as something was good. But for the most part, this might be the least inspiring hire so far for the Bills. And because it's at a relatively high leverage spot, offensive line coach, little bit of a concern. but I'm not going to get bent out of shape with this one particular hire. All right, let's flip to the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to start with defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard. Now, before the three of us dig into it, there's a lot going on with Jim Leonhard in terms of whether having the 3-4 defense as opposed to a 4-3, more of an attacking style. So I talked to Carl Jones with a little Let's Talk Ball mini chat about what it means to go 4-3 to 3-4, how much different it'll be, and how much it will impact different players on the Bills defense. Joined now by Carl Jones for a short edition of Let's Talk Ball. This is going to be like Let's Chat About Ball, not Talk Ball. But either way, get some good information from Carl here, who did a great video on his X feed. I'll let Carl give the handle in a minute here, explaining 3-4 versus 4-3 defense. So Carl, promote yourself first, but then let's go a little deeper into it. How big of a change do we think going from the Sean McDermott 4-3 will likely be to the Jim Leonhard 3-4?
Yeah, for the video that Thad's talking about, basically, for the people at home, it just makes this as simple as possible. When you hear the terms 4-3, that means 4 down defensive linemen with 3 linebackers. 3-4, 3 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers. That is the as basic as I can describe it. Anything beyond that, we're getting into like level 300, 400 defense. But on this show, we can tap into that type of line of thinking. And I think one of the biggest changes that you're going to see in how the Bills operate in terms of defensively, with most 4-3 structures, you are somewhat limited in how you can get after the passer because of the fact that you have 4 down defensive linemen. The offense, more often than not, knows, let's just say 60% of the time, those are the 4 guys they're going to be hunting. With a 3-4 structure, because of the fact there are 3 guys down in the line of scrimmage, more often than not, there's going to be more than that. You just don't know how many more. Is it going to be 4? Is it going to be 5? Is it going to be 6? And depending on where those guys are lined up, it puts some stress on the offense in terms of how you're schematically blocking those guys up. So I think that's going to be the biggest shift for Bills fans who have been complaining about the Bills being finesse and passive for all these years. That won't be the case going forward if Jim Leonhard makes the changes we expect him to make this upcoming season.
So those are kind of the upside changes from a 3-4, the benefits of a 3-4. But look, I think that any scheme is just letters on a piece of paper. The players make it work. But that means that there's going to be risks with that scheme too. So what are maybe not the downside, but what are the things you're kind of accepting with the 3-4? I would say the logical things are A, with less guys on the defensive line, it makes you a little more vulnerable to the run. And B, if you're going to attack, when the Bills were running conservative 4-3, if you make a mistake, it's a 15-yard play. If you're going to attack when you make a mistake, it's a 60-yard touchdown. Is that right? And maybe what other things are we missing?
I think that's the biggest one, because a lot of teams who run 3-4, especially at the collegiate and high school levels, you do so because your guys up front aren't the best in terms of getting off of blocks. Well, as currently constructed today, listen, the Bills' defensive line and front seven, for that matter, wasn't great, no matter if it was 5-2, 4-3, 6-1, 3-4, whatever the case may be. But as they are currently constructed today, if they had to roll out there, put the ball out there, let's just say February 2nd and play football, they would get ran all over, even worse if they had it in terms of the 4-3, because they don't have the body types that can shed blocks. And once again, just the basics here. Because of the fact that you have 3 down defensive linemen, that makes it a lot easier for offensive linemen to double team you. How many guys on that Bills defensive line do you think are great at eating up double teams? I think Ed can do it sometimes.
Dion has the potential.
Dion has the potential, but not consistent. And then because of that, it puts more stress on your linebackers to get their hands off of them. So like, hey, if an offensive lineman gets his paws on you, hey, I need you to be able to knife through and stack and shed. And listen, Terrell Bernard is a lot of things. He is not a physical guy in terms of getting offensive linemen off of him. So I think those are some of the downsides. If you don't have the personnel to run it, you can get gashed in the run game.
Let's talk about the personnel then. And I want to go quickly. We'll both give a one guy for each of these 3 categories. Number one, among current Bills personnel, who do we think maybe not his best help, but certainly will be better when he would go from 4-3 to 3-4?
In a weird way, I think this will benefit Ed Oliver. And when I watch, he is not Aaron Donald. Let's make that abundantly clear. But when you watch the LA Rams a few years back, they changed their 3-4 to accommodate him. You know how I talked about defensive linemen in this structure. They're gonna have to take on more double teams. They didn't ask Aaron Donald to do that. They say, hey, Aaron, everyone else do that. You just shoot right up the field and go penetrate. And I think if Jim Leonard, who I know is a smart guy, he's going to tell Ed Oliver the same thing. He's not going to be a cookie cutter guy and say, hey, be this guy on the whiteboard. He's going to tell 91, you go hunt and we'll make everything appropriate around you.
For me, I think it's Deion Walker. And again, maybe a little more in theory, you need that big space eater in the middle. And Deion Walker is certainly built to be that, but he's also shown some ability to be active against the pass, who can make plays. And I think he's a guy that might even be able to go outside to the defensive end spot. Maybe it's me projecting a little bit, but I think you make Deion Walker maybe a little more versatile going with a 3-4 the way that we've seen him be productive already. Flip side, who do we think might struggle a little more going 4-3 to 3-4?
I got two guys for you. I think Taron Johnson and how they maneuver this a little bit, just because that nickel is going to be a huge guy in the run fit. And listen, Taron was a lot of things. He was awesome in the run fit in his heyday. It's dropped a little bit this year, and I believe he's like 30 years old heading into this upcoming season. That's going to be a lot of stress on that guy. And then also, I don't know any defensive end not named Greg Rousseau. I just don't know if it fits them. Greg Rousseau is going to be the strong side linebacker. He's going to be the guy who's going to have put his shoulder into every single tight end and turn everything back. But then you need the opposite guy across from him to fly off the edge and have juice. The Bills don't have that on the roster. I mean, the closest thing is probably Javon Solomon, but I don't think that he's going to be a rotational piece going forward. So I would think anyone not named Greg Rousseau that's in the edge room right now.
To that point, I think Matt Milano 3 years ago might have thrived in this defense. I think Dorian Williams has a shot maybe to be one of those guys, if simply because the Bills don't have a lot of options. My answer to I'm going to get to Greg Rousseau in a second. My answer to the guy that it won't work for is TJ Sanders. I don't think he's a great fit for the defense. And one of the things I remember is last year in the draft, the defensive tackle class there were a lot of guys, but there are a lot of different flavors. And TJ Sanders was the Bills' flavor for last year. Well, now he's not that. The Bills don't want that flavor anymore. In addition, Sanders last year played tackle, and then he got hurt, and then he played end, and then he played tackle again. This is a second rounder that's now going into like his fourth different role in a year and change. It just doesn't work for that guy. You're making it really hard for him to get any sort of headway going in terms of his career. The third category is, what guy are you most intrigued by? And I'm going to go first here because my guy is Greg Rousseau. I don't think he can play the outside position you're talking about. Maybe against the run, but look, that's more of a space speed guy, and Greg Rousseau hasn't been that. He's a strength guy. He wants to stiff arm you and run you over. I think he'd be better playing the 5I or the 5T defensive end position than going outside and playing that wide spot. But if you want to tell me I'm wrong, that's fine. We're projecting this ridiculously. Either way, for me, how Greg Rousseau fits this is, to me, the most fascinating thing.
I think that's fair because, once again, we haven't seen him do it. But in my mind, if I'm going to picture this out a little bit here, if we're going to coach around the players that we have on our roster, especially the guys who have cap hits that you can't get rid of, I think you coach to Greg Rousseau's strengths. And maybe that is the 5-out situation where he's putting paws on tackles every single play, stacking shed every single play. But I do see some promise if he can get a speed guy across from him, because you don't need two speed guys off the edge. I mean, not every team is going to be blessed like the Houston Texans or the Broncos this year. But another guy that I am intrigued with, Cole Bishop. When Jim Leonard's background is defensive backs, and don't get it twisted, he is not bringing Pat Surtain with him. He is not bringing all the other great DBs he had with him. But Cole Bishop, we talked about on this platform before. If there's anyone on this team that has the potential to have an AP next to his name next January, I think it's Cole Bishop. With a coach like Jim Leonard and the versatility and the flexibility that this defense can provide, there's going to be some plays where he's lined up on the line of scrimmage, some plays he's playing Ken Griffey Jr. spot, and some plays where he's lined up in the nickel. I am super fascinated to see what he looks like. I mean, quite frankly, give me the Fisher. I don't even need to see the game day. Just give me the Fisher and see all the different places that he's lining up.
Two things about that. One, I love the idea of calling the deep center field safety the Griffey. We need to start doing that. That needs to be in football forever. And then no matter who the coach is going to be, I think Cole Bishop was going to be the answer for most intriguing anyway, just because of what we've seen from him last year. Speaking of defensive backs, real quick, the Bills picked their corner coach, Jay Valai from Oklahoma, a press guy, more of an attacking style, kind of lay out for everybody as someone who played Division I corner, what the difference in the style is going to be going from McDermott to what we think Valai and I guess Leonard are going to do.
Yeah, here's the biggest difference. The Bills cornerbacks, a lot of the time, they were pressed up on the line of scrimmage, but they weren't aggressive because they also had they were making sure they're keeping everything in front of them. For better or for worse, and for those who have watched Clemson over the last 10 plus years, and then when Brent Venables left Clemson and then became the OU head coach, their cornerbacks were on islands and they looked like pit bulls on the perimeter. So I think that fits Christian Benford's game like a glove. It remains to be seen how it fits Max Harrison, because remember, he was more of a zone guy. But listen, we're going to punch at the line of scrimmage. There's going to be some times where illegal hands to the face. Why? Because my man was trying to press and he hit him in the face mask. My bad, ref. I'll take the 15 or how many yards that is. But I think that's the biggest difference with Valai coming over, is that these corners are going to be uber aggressive to the point where, yeah, some yellow laundry might be out there from time to time.
To your point, real quick, is Max Harrison a trade candidate right now? Just because you might be able to get something for him? And to be fair, or to further the point, you got Dorian Strong, if he's healthy, who really would fit this style, I think, a heck of a lot better than Hairston maybe would.
I think that if you are a coach and you walk into a room and you see someone that runs 4-2, you figure that out before you ever think about trying to get him on a trademark. I get it, stylistically, it may not be a 1-to-1 fit. Every coach in America, if they see someone that runs 4-2 in their room, they're gonna be like, please, I need it, please, I need it.
Excellent point. Carl, this is why we bring you in, because you know all the stuff about the corners and you can break it down to, yeah, he runs fast. He's going to be helpful to us. Thanks very much for being on, man. Appreciate it as always.
You have a good one.
All right, guys, I had plenty of time to talk about Jim Leonhard and his changes for the defense. Caleb, you go first. What do you think of Jim Leonhard as a defensive coordinator?
I like it. I like it a lot. I think this defense, you look at last season, I think the defense has some good pieces. You know, if Ed Oliver's healthy, we don't know what's going to happen with Joey Bosa yet. But you still got some Deion Walker, Christian Benford, Cole Bishop's playing really well. If Maxwell Hairston can stay healthy, you know, it has a lot of good pieces. And I think what might be benefit is just a different kind of style. You just bring in a different vibe, a different style, and that might kind of jumpstart something. And also, I mean, Leonhard, what he did at Wisconsin in the Big Ten, I know it's a different style, it's a different game, but he had really, really good defenses at the college level. I don't want to talk bad about Bobby Babich because I did like him, but I do think that Jim Leonhard is a significant upgrade in my eyes. And so for that reason, the answer to the Super Bowl question would be yes, I do think Leonhard makes them closer.
Rach?
I'm kind of back and forth, and I don't want to say no just yet, but I'll maybe talk myself through it and see where I land. This is a guy who's been obviously very successful, like you said, with Wisconsin, and that is a completely different game, but it's bringing something different to the Bills. But he is, I think, only 2 years NFL coaching experience, which can be good and can be bad. I know we've talked about we kind of want to like shake things up and see something new, but I'm still kind of not fully convinced maybe that this is the Super Bowl answer. I think it's a good hire. I do agree that, you know, comparing him to Bobby Babich, this could be someone who can come in and do better than he did, but I don't think I'm 100% convinced that this is going to be a Super Bowl caliber taking the team there. So
yes or no?
I'm gonna say I have to say no. I have to for the rules. I have to say no. But I do like this hire. But I guess I have to say no.
To your point about another experience, I was doing some deep dive into coaches who went to the Super Bowl in their first year, and although many of those coaches got the DC job about the same time age-wise as Leonhard, they had way more years of experience. And the reason for that is because when they were building up experience as like a position coach, quality control, whatever, Jim Leonhard was playing football. So he doesn't have coaching experience because he was in the league. So, all right, you guys are going to hate me because I make up the rules for these games and then I routinely break them on my own. I'm going to do that again now.
Like
yeah. I really apologize. I didn't want to. So my answer is no for this year, but yes for every year after that. I just don't think he'll be ready to do it.
I don't think that breaks it too much.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think it breaks it.
That's I will take that level of acceptance from you guys.
Because I think that's kind of what my yes is. Honestly, I think that's what my yes is for all of these. Is I don't know, even the Joe Brady hire, I don't know how much that helps the Bills this season, but I do think it's a pretty high ceiling for down the line. So I think all my yeses are kind of along the same lines as that.
Let's move on to the corner coach, Jay Valai. I talked about him with Carl, so Rachel, you can go first here.
The thing about this is another young guy. He's, I think, 34 years old, comes from college experience. The thing about this is Brandon Beane said when they hired Joe Brady, it's more about his ceiling and less about what he's done. I feel like this philosophy kind of applies to him as well. I mean, this is a guy who's also kind of new to the NFL coaching world. I don't hate it, but I don't think I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, it's a Super Bowl. So I am excited to see what he brings, just coming from a different background and being a young guy, along with, this staff has a lot of different levels of experience now. But I'm going to say no as far as the Super Bowl goes.
I tried to look into him a little bit. Obviously, it's tough to see how much quote unquote juice a guy has based off just words on a paper. But based off what I've seen and the way that Carl talked about him, I do think that he's going to bring something to this room, some energy, some life that could be very beneficial. He's been kind of all over the place at the college level. He doesn't have a ton of experience in the NFL. It just doesn't really move the needle a ton for me, and for that reason, I'm also going to say no.
I'm going to say yes. You see Mr. Shutdown Freshman on the screen right there. In college, 3 different times he's taken a freshman player and made them either all freshman SEC or all freshman All-American, twice in the last 2 years at Oklahoma and once with Kool-Aid McKinstry at Alabama. So that shows he can take a guy who doesn't know what they're doing to a degree and help them. Now, doing it with 18-year-olds and doing it with 28-year-old professionals is not the same thing. But based on that, I'm going to go yes. I think this is a guy that has moved the Bills a little closer to the Super Bowl level. Let's kind of rip through the rest of these defensive coaches quick. The next one is outside linebacker coach Bobby April III. His dad was a special teams coach with the Bills. He's been in the league for quite a while, but most recently was Stanford's defensive coordinator. Caleb, you are first.
He coached under Leonard at Wisconsin for a few years, so he was part of those good defenses. He's been in Buffalo. He coached with the Bills.
Under Rex Ryan.
Rex Ryan, so he was in the city at least for a little bit. I think, I mean, this is just another one that I don't think it's bad. I think it's a good hire. I don't think it's significantly worse than what the Bills had before, but I just can't in confidence say that it's going to be significantly better either. It just doesn't move the needle as much. So again, I'm going to say no.
Rach?
I'm on the exact same page. I don't think any of these hires are bad hires. I haven't looked at any of them and questioned really any of them. But like you said, Caleb, I don't see this being like a game-changing hire. I mean, he has the experience with Leonard. I'm sure that helps. Experience in Buffalo, of course, that will help. But at the same time, I don't see this being the difference maker, so it's a no for me too.
A lot of experience with outside linebackers, a unique spot in a 3-4 defense. Obviously with the Rex, he's been doing it for decades. With Stanford, by the way, his run defense as a defensive coordinator significantly got better. They were like 6.3 a carry before he started. Last year, they were under 4 a carry. So between those two things, I went yes for this. I think just the wealth of experience in the position being specifically set there and what he did at Stanford, to me, moves the needle. The other linebacker coach, inside linebacker, John Agorogu, he coached with the Bills, but not a 3-4 defense. He coached a 4-3 under Sean McDermott just a few years ago. Most recently from the Giants. Quickly around the room, Caleb, you're first.
I'm going to say no again. I think he was well with the did a good job in New York with the Giants. He worked with a lot of really, really good linebackers. But there's nothing here that really just jumps out to me. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I feel the same way as I did with Bobby April. It's just, same thing. Doesn't really jump out. I mean, I'm sure these are going to be great coaches. I think they have good resumes to bring to the team, and they'll definitely add something, but I don't know if Super Bowl is one of them.
I'm not excited about this hire either. And especially, I talked about how I like the experience that April had in 3-4. Agorogu does not have that same level to where I'm going to give it a yes. So it's definitely a no for me. Last one is the special teams coach, Jeff Rodgers, coming over after 6 years with the Cardinals. This will be the 17th straight year as a special teams coordinator in the NFL. Rachel.
I like this hire. He has 22 years coaching special
Total,
teams in NFL. So, I mean, I think it just keeps coming back to experience for me, and that's why some of these guys stand out more than others. It's going to be hard replacing Tabor, but I think I like this hire. I think he's a guy that brings good experience. He seems well respected around the league as well. I kind of just like to see what he's going to do. And the Bills special teams has been, decent this last year. So I feel like he can build off that, and I kind of like this. So I'm going to say yes for this one. It's not a confident yes, but we'll say yes.
Pretty much everything you just said. I thought he was pretty good in Arizona. Now, obviously, the Bills don't know who their kicker is going to be next year, but he does have experience with Matt Prater, so that could be something. He's also used to having running back return kicks if the Bills want to keep Ray Davis back there. DJ Dallas, not DJ
You got it right.
Davis. No,
okay.
it's Davis.
Davis,
sorry.
not Dallas. Okay.
DJ Davis in 2024 was a Pro Bowl kick returner. He's running back for the Cardinals. So I like that. I like his experience. Everything makes me want to say yes, a little more confident yes, but I'm going to say no because I thought Chris Tabor did a really good job, especially in the back half of the year. So I still think he's going to be really good, but I just don't know if he's going to be better than Chris Tabor. And so for that reason, I'm going to say no, but it's a little bit of a different no than my other ones.
The Tabor point is a good one. Didn't even think of that. I think you're right. I'm going no here too. Even though a lot of experience, not a lot of impact, especially most recently with the Cardinals. We're done for today. For Rachel and Caleb, I'm Thad. Thanks for watching. Like I said, back again on Thursday with more Bills offseason chit-chat.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 on demand. Plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.